Hi, I'm Dr. Carmela Janine Walker, and I'm here to talk a little bit about loss. In the past month, I have been made aware, friends, people very close, family, of just multiple losses from a 20-year-old to a 90-year-old. So, with loss, we go through many different stages. Clinically, the stages are labeled as denial, and then anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, and then acceptance. So they don't necessarily have to go in that order. Sometimes people don't even get through all the stages, they get stuck, right? Um, so, loss is something that many people can't wrap their head around, right? Even if you are a believer in a higher power and you say, okay, I know that this person is in a better place. I know that they are comfortable. I know that they're safe. I know that they are at peace, right? I know that I will see them again. It is still the fact that you cannot physically, right, see or touch, smell, right, the person, which is life changing, right? You feel the pain, the hurt, the loss, the desire to see them again, right? The desire to hold them again. So, with that being said, I'm here to first say, so sorry that you have to go through something like that. And second, that eventually we will all have to go through those kind of losses, right? The end of life, and how we deal with them, right, makes a difference. So when you lose someone, right, it does you well to grieve, right? But then, right, not to grieve so long, not to draw it out. And the reason for that is, and I know, right, it's much easier said than done. If somebody loses a child, right, if somebody loses a parent, and then you feel that emptiness, and it's just like it's an emptiness there and it just can't be filled. I do understand that. My message today is not to get stuck in that, right? And so, ways out of that, because you don't want to, when you think of that person, it's just always sadness, right? Because if you've had good times, if you've had fun times, if you've had lovable times, then it does you well to embrace those good memories, right? So you think of a time where that person made you laugh. You think of a time where that person, maybe they didn't even know it and they made you smile, right? You think of that time when the person was nowhere around and you thought of them and you got happy, right? Those are just some tips and some ways so that you don't make the total loss, right, about grief, right? Grief will consume you and grief will change you, right? So the loss itself will change you, right? When you love someone, a child, a parent, the loss itself will change you and you feel like I will never be the same. So maybe there is some truth in that, right? You will never be the same person. However, it does not mean that the person you are now is a sad person, or the person you are now is an angry person, or the person you are now has become a bitter person, right? So allow this loss to make you a more wiser person, right? Allow this loss to make you a person with more experience, right? So I have this experience, so let me give back to others what worked for me during this time, right? So I know I've said a lot and there is much more, but I'm going to give you a small snippet because I want you just to take it in, right? So good memories in loss, good memories. Try to think of your son or your daughter or your mother, your father, your uncle or your aunt, those that you have lost or that one that you have lost. And you think of the good times, the smiling times, the happy times, because you want this person to be remembered in joy, not in sorrow.